right, welcome back, Hawks. Today we're going to talk about setting up an IDW for our assembly file. Okay, so we're going to kind of put everything that's kind of important on a drawing sheet here. You can see I've got a B-size piece of paper we'll be using. On it, I have a 2-view drawing of the wheel. I have a 2-view drawing of the axle. I have a 3-view drawing of the fork or base, whatever you want to call it, for that particular item. I have in the top right I guess a large view, and I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be this large. It could be smaller, but a 3-dimensional view of the assembly, which we talked about in the previous video. And today, aside from setting up this IDW, we're going to talk about how to set up an exploded assembly view like you see here, and this parts list that's down below, so we can identify the items that make up this assembly. So in order to get to this point, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to File and do a new file, and we're going to create a new IDW. Okay, and so an inch IDW, so you're going to create a new file like that, which shouldn't be anything crazy new, and we're going to right-click on Sheet, and we're going to edit the sheet. And if we needed it to be, it could certainly be larger, but this should fit okay at a B-size size paper, kind of like I had in the example. So we're going to set that up. Certainly, you'll need to fill out the title block, but I'm not going to spend time talking about that as we've covered that in other videos. Next item, I'm going to be switching back and forth here between kind of the oh, that's not what I want either. Oh my goodness. So here's our example assembly, and you can see on it we've got those 3 2D drawing views all kind of set up. So we can certainly play some devil's advocate here, and let's see what we can kind of come up with. So you see the largest item is obviously our fork, and you'll see here in my parts list that the name of the files is what's coming in for our part number. Okay, so I've separated it when I made the original files. This is caster wheel, this is caster axle, and this is caster fork. I'm going to start by placing some views, and let's just go with a base set of views. So here is the fork, and I'm going to get that rotated and set up. I do not want it shaded. And we're going to leave it at, I don't think 1:1. I think 1:1 is going to be too big. I'm going to try 3/4 scale. If you don't have a particular scale you're looking for, we typically want to stay on an architectural scale or fractions of an inch. We wouldn't want to do like a 5/9 scale. We'd want to do like a 5/8 scale, or a 1/2 inch scale, or a 3/16 inch scale. I'm going to try 3/4 here, and I think that's going to look okay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that over here in the bottom left-hand corner, and just like on other IDWs, we can now project the other views. Oh, sorry, I did not keep those views. So let's do that again, and I'm going to create those. So there's one item. Again, if we needed to, we can come back here, we can edit that base view, and we can decide, hey, that's too big, we need it a 1/2 scale. And if we do that, it should update all our views. And once we have dimensions on them, that should update as well. Next one I'm going to bring in for a base view is a wheel or the axle. I'm going to do a wheel because that's the next largest one. So again, with either the file find or the drop down, you want to go and find the file that you want to reference. We can utilize the view cube to get it oriented in the way we want. This is probably going to have to be smaller. I'm going to try 1/2 scale here, and I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to kind of put that up here in the top left. And I'm going to do a projected view from that as a side view. And let's create that. Now, you could argue, Hawks, that maybe this view would be better as a section view, as we have talked previously about doing section view drawings. Maybe this particular view would benefit from having a nice section view. Okay, so again, kind of up to you. I'm going to leave it as the hidden view right now, but you could certainly do that because that would show the nice profile of the hidden information or the detail here where we're seeing them as inlines. Okay, but right now, again, we're just trying to lay out space on the page so we can efficiently use the information we have and lay it out. So I'm going to do one more base view, and we're going to get the axle in this case, and that looks like an okay scale, so I'm going to say all right to that. I'm going to bring that up in this general area for now, and let's do a projected view of this, probably there. I think that one probably would be the best option. Yeah, I think I probably prefer to see the hidden circle for this detail on the head as opposed to the hidden circle for the length of the axle itself. All right, since I've got a number of pieces of information here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, right? So I would suggest that you give it a name that makes sense. And I'm just going to do, I think I did original file there. I'm just going to do caster assembly. And if you get this pop-up, go ahead and say yes to all and hit OK, and things should end up working out all right. It's basically saying that some things were not properly saved. Okay, so we now have our file saved. We can see it's a caster assembly. And now we're going to worry about getting some additional information. So let's look back at the example where we have the assembly file for the caster. Okay, so we take a look here. I should have that file open. There is our caster assembly. Okay, so I'm going to want to insert that one next. So let's go and do a base view, and I should be able to go and find that assembly file. Okay, I want to bring that in shaded. I do not want to see hidden lines. And when I brought that in, I didn't rotate it at all. So I'm going to edit that view, and I'm going to play a little bit with the orientation. And because all of you may have drawn this in different views or a different orientation, I have to try to decide what's the best view of this object. I'm not really sure, honestly. I'm just kind of, there's not a right or a wrong way. I'm trying to physically select maybe what's the best view to show the detail. Maybe I like that. It's showing me the circle, the holes there. It's showing me. I like that maybe more than the one that I had in the example that I showed you previously. So I'm just going to kind of put that in the general area right there. Doesn't matter if it's up here, down here. We can move all these views around once we've got them kind of placed and scaled. Okay, so since I've got that inserted, I'm going to save this file again. And again, so obviously I have a different orientation in this example than what I'm doing with you in the video. So last thing we have to worry about is this. This is an exploded assembly. We get this out of what's called a presentation file. Okay, so presentation file, we're gonna load the assembly into a presentation file. We're gonna kind of pull the pieces apart from one another, and then we're gonna save an image. Okay, it's gonna look something like this. So this is the file I'm working on. That exploded assembly is going to go in this general area, and I need to do a new file. So I'm going to do a new file, and this time it's going to be this presentation file. So see, this creates an exploded projection. So I'm going to start an IPN. So I'm going to hit create, and now it wants to know what am I going to be using for the example. Okay, so what am I going to start with? I'm going to start with this demo that I used in the previous video. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. It says the location is not the same as the active project. I'm just going to say yes. Again, I'm not worried about that right now. So now you can see that this looks a little different. We've got some video storyboard information over here. We can actually output animations from an inventor if we were so inclined. However, we're not worried about that here. I'm going to start by just saving the file, right? So I'm going to give it a name, and maybe we'll do, I was already kind of making sure this is all working. So I'm going to go ahead and save that file So again, I've got this new presentation file saved. So in order to create the explosion, there's a couple ways to do this. However, the easiest way is to use this tweak components. Okay, so what that allows us to do is select a component. We can kind of drag it where we want it to go. Okay, so if I select tweak components, and let's say I grab this wheel, and if I left click, I've selected the object, and now I've got these arrows. Okay, so I can use an arrow to drive a part a particular direction. Okay, if I say okay to that, I'll undo. Or when I select the object itself, I can grab this ball in the middle, and I can just click it and drag it, click and hold and drag into an orientation that I want it. So you can either use the arrows, or you can click that ball in the middle. We can get that part to kind of go out away from where it was. And you'll see, we'll get this thing, like, I think they call that a path, which is kind of how it has moved from when it was assembled together. So I went and moved the wheel. Let's go ahead and do another tweak component. I'm going to bring the axle out to the right. Out to the right. So I'm going to grab this arrow. I'm going to bring it this way. And maybe while it's here, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to bring it back now. So because I don't want these kind of overlapping one another. I'm kind of liking that. Okay. So there's my exploded view. And the important part here is I'm going to save this. Okay. And we might then want to work on capturing the camera view. Okay. So it's going to save this image. All right, that's number one. Number two is now we're going to create a new snapshot. When we do a new snapshot, it's going to create an actual like JPEG file, if you will, a picture file of what we're seeing here. And it's going to show it up over here in this snapshot view column over on the right. So I'm going to hit new snapshot view, and there is our new view. And when we insert that into our assembly file, that's what we're going to be able to see. So if at some point in time later I wanted to come back in here and take this and move it somewhere else and reorient things, okay, I would need to create a new snapshot, and I'll have the different options. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Good habit to get into before you're kind of moving back and forth between tabs. So let's go back to our, oh, not that one, this one, our example assembly. So we place that captured view just like a base view. So if we go to base, we should be able to now see, again, because I'm saving these all in the same location, I can see that I've got this presentation 2. I'm going to go ahead and select that one. And let's go ahead and okay. And let's move this out over to here. And I obviously probably want to see this shaded, which will look nice. I've got some more room here. I'm going to now decide to make that larger scale. So I'll try 3/4 scale. That looks like it's going to fit possibly well. We'll see here in a little second. Okay, and so now we have our assembly view over here in the middle. We have our exploded view. And last but not least, we're looking to place a parts list and itemize or identify which part is which. And we can certainly have a lot more what's going on here than what is going on here, depending on how much information we want to share. So in order to insert that parts list, we're going to go to Annotate menu, and you'll see that there is a parts list. So if I click on parts list, it's going to ask me, well, what do you want to kind of reference? What is the file that you're referencing? So I am looking for an assembly file, and there is my assembly file. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to say OK. You see now I have a chart that's going to be attached to my cursor. And Inventor wants you to dock this someplace. I'm thinking either up here at the top right corner or right over here above the title block would probably be a good place for this. If I go up and place that right now I have a problem with those object files. So I'm going to move this one over. I'm going to see if I can get this to kind of play nice in here. And you know what? It looks like it might be a little big. Okay, so I'm going to edit this view, and I'm going to decide to go, let's try 5/8. I'm going to do a 5/8 scale. See if that's enough to get me the space. So this will fit and look nice. And I'm pretty happy with the way that that's looking right now. So I'm going to go and get my assembly, and maybe I can make this one a little bit bigger now too, possibly. So let's go ahead and edit that view, and maybe let's go 5/8 on that. And I'm kind of liking the size that we're seeing there. Okay, Control S, I'll do save there. Last but not least, we have the balloons. Okay, and they're up here. There's certainly a drop down here. We could try an auto balloon. Let's try that. Auto balloon, this view, and doesn't seem like it wants to let me just actually do that. 1, 2, 3. It's not letting me really apply anything. So the auto balloon doesn't seem to work easy. So let's just try a regular balloon. And all I do is I select the object, and I'm going to drag. So I just left clicked once. I'm dragging out the label, and left click to place it. And you can do a whole bunch of bends, but if you like what you got, right click and continue, and we'll have item 3 is our caster axle. So Inventor knows what the part is, which is kind of nice. So again, I can kind of play around with where these balloons are going to be. We want them to be outside of the objects whenever possible. And there are my 3 labeled components. Okay. On this list itself, I should be able to come in here and edit the bill of materials or edit the parts list style. And I can play with a number of things, not the goal of our activity today. I might want to go in and on the bill of materials, you'll see here it's going to allow me to, again, do additional information where I can get an idea of what kind of material I need, right? So maybe I've got parts made, so on and so forth.
I think you're using those headphones, but I know you're not.
That should be the extent of the video for how to set up an IDW. Again, this is not complete. You'll need to come in and do dimensioning on the objects, center lines, hidden lines, show them appropriately. But that should get you far enough along that you can get an IDW going. Does not have to look exactly like this, but this would be a good place to start. All right, catch you next time.